Hi, I'm Beth Callahan. I'm the editor of the WarrenCountyPost.com, and as many of you know or are aware of, we have a presidential election coming up November 5th. Because we've been so bombarded with presidential election information, sometimes we get or often overlook that we have other races that are going on that are being challenged that will impact us at the state and federal level. While none of the candidates running for our local county offices are being challenged, Warren County residents will be choosing who they want to represent them in Columbus as a state house representative and who they'll be sending to Washington, D.C. for our U.S. House representative. Because it is so hard to find out or even know who is running for these positions, I felt obligated as the editor of the WarrenCountyPost.com to give you, the reader, a chance to meet the candidates and also give the candidate a chance to let their voice be heard. Remember, the WarrenCountyPost.com is just a small digital media platform, trying to give you, the Warren County, Ohio resident, some local news information the best we can on a very limited budget. So with that said, here we go.
Warren County is a sound. Oh, Ohio's place. Fun all around. Yeah, yeah. Warren County, feel the beat. Every corner fun to meet. Oh, from the rivers to the trains. Dance all night, feel no pain. Yeah, yeah. City lights, small town nights. All together feel so right. Big to small, let's unite. Warren County, pure delight.
Okay. Congressman Greg Landsman, thank you so much for doing this. We up here in the northern part of Warren County really don't get the news, what's happening in Cincinnati a lot. So I thought this would be a good way for us northern Warren County people to meet you.
Yeah. Well, you do a good job covering everything.
I try. It's hard, one person.
Yeah.
But I get some people that volunteer. It's hard to get people to volunteer to write, but thanks.
Yeah.
So this is your first year or your first term. How did that go? How did you
Well,
like
it's not over yet. We still have a lot of work left to do. We passed a continuing resolution to keep the government open, which means that we averted another shutdown. And that was done as it has been in the past with this bipartisan majority of us, a group of Democrats and Republicans who, when push comes to shove, we do the right thing and we make sure that we don't shut the government down, or in the past ensure that we didn't default on our loans and send the economy into a tailspin. Most of the meaningful, I'd argue all the meaningful work that we've done in this Congress has been bipartisan, and there's a whole host of bipartisan bills that hopefully will come to the floor before the term is up. One of them I'm leading. It's the Social Security Fairness Act, which will allow all of our public employees who have gotten a pension. These are teachers and firefighters and police officers, letter carriers. They paid into Social Security and they haven't gotten all their Social Security. The Social Security Fairness Act will give them the benefits that they've earned. And we fought hard to get a discharge petition filed. We got 218 signatures, and hopefully we'll get a vote by the end of the year.
That's great, because I know a lot of people that are teachers that aren't able to get their Social Security.
Yeah, it affects our district. I mean, there are districts all over the country, but Ohio's a big place where you had a pension, and people go on to have another career, and they earn all the Social Security, but they don't get it, and it's not fair.
Right. And also I understand, like, when people go through a divorce, the teacher's pension is open for the spouse, but the spouse can't take away the Social Security. So I'm glad you're doing that.
Paid into the Social Security fund and you've earned the benefits, you should get it back. And this has been on the books or around for years. The problem's been a problem for decades. It's the most co-sponsored bill, but we couldn't get leadership to bring it to the floor without forcing this vote, which we did last week.
Good to hear. I'm glad to hear there's bipartisan working because that's so important for our
Yeah,
country.
I mean, one of the reasons I ran was to give Southwest Ohio a member of Congress that was ours, somebody who, and not just the person, but the office that was entirely focused on the district's constituent services and making sure that everyone who calls in gets what they need. Bills that get co-sponsored or co-sponsored in part because we do so many town halls and we spend so much time with superintendents and police officers and firefighters and farmers and we pick up the work that they want us to do, and secure really meaningful funding that we brought them back, uh, tax dollars that are ours that are now coming back to the community. And for lead pipe replacement to help with infrastructure projects, public transit, housing, you name it. So that was one of the reasons why I ran, was to give this region a member of Congress that they can count on entirely.
That's great because that's the question I was going to ask you. Why did you run? And you answered that.
Yeah, I mean, so one of the reasons was, to give us a member of Congress that was just ours. And I don't take corporate PAC money. My voting record is based on what I believe to be true in terms of what folks back here want to see, and so I'm rated one of the most independent members of Congress, and buck my party, when I feel like it's necessary. And you build a reputation early on where people know that you're not going to just follow the party line, and they stop bugging you, really, because they've lost the argument. And I vote the values that I think are the ones that we collectively hold, and I think that's made me a much better member, and certainly one that's much more reliable. I also ran because I am very worried about the economy and fixing it for the middle class. The economy has gotten better, but it's gotten really, really good for the super wealthy, and I just want to see the folks here, our farmers, our public employees, the middle class benefit. And so building a tax code and investments around them is critical. And then the last piece is just our democracy, making sure that we have free and fair elections and that every vote counts.
And then you answered my other question is because 70% of the people in Warren County really don't claim a party. And so I was going to ask you, do you always go with your party or do you vote with your constituents? And you are here to serve the people, it sounds, which
Yeah.
is good.
Yeah, I look at it. They give the recommendations on both sides. Republicans give their folks recommendations. Democrats give their folks recommendations. I look at everything and then I vote the district, and people know that. And so and it's somebody told me early on, it's you do it enough early on, people just leave you alone and let you vote the way you want to vote.
And some of the experience you brought before becoming a U.S. House representative, you were a teacher, correct?
Yeah, so I was a teacher. My parents were teachers. And then after teaching, went to divinity school, got a master's in theological studies, and got into child and education advocacy work, sometimes with faith-based organizations, sometimes not. Led a ballot measure in Cincinnati to provide 2 years of quality preschool for 3 and 4-year-olds, and then was at City Hall for 5 years, where we invested in core services, police, fire, sanitation, trying to invest in a city that was going to be incredibly well run, but also a city that invested in families, children and families. So we invested in prenatal care and childcare and youth jobs and housing stability, and the things that make Cincinnati a much better place to raise a family. And that's been my focus in Congress. My first bill was a bill to cap the cost of insulin for children. We have a bipartisan bill to make college more affordable by allowing folks to use a housing voucher to offset the cost of college housing. We have a bill that passed out of committee, bipartisan bill, to hold these pharmaceutical benefit managers that buy and sell prescription drugs on behalf of Medicare accountable, so that their transactions when they're buying and selling these prescription drugs are disclosed, and the savings from those transactions go to seniors and Medicare and not shareholders. So, we continue to sort of focus on what's best for children and families, particularly the folks here who need policies to be working for them, and not always just the people who are really well off.
And were you born in Cincinnati or?
Yeah, I was born in Cincinnati Christ Hospital, where both of my kids were born, actually. So, and fun fact, both my kids were born on their due dates. So I don't know what that means. Just
That's very interesting. That's usually never happens.
never happened. So
So the one last question is then, if reelected, what is something you would like to finish or complete, or you'd like to see do as another term as our U.S. representative?
yeah, I'm gonna get this Social Security Fairness Act done. Hopefully, we'll get it done in this term. I want to be there to pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act that will end voter suppression and partisan gerrymandering. Republicans and Democrats both do this. They mess around with these districts, and it doesn't help voters. And getting rid of that and dark money, I think something like 85% of all of the money spent in this election will be untraceable, and that's just not good for our democracy. And then the efforts to fix the economy. I mean, to end the price gouging, to provide really big tax relief to the middle class and to working folks. And to get a set of small business tax cuts done that we passed actually in the House. The Senate just didn't take it up, or I think maybe it took it up and didn't get the vote. So it's fixing the economy in the ways in which I just talked about. It's strengthening our democracy, restoring freedoms, and really just continuing to be a member that just constantly shows up and is deeply rooted in the lives and the work of the people that we represent.
I see you're out there in the community all the time doing things, so that's great. I can tell you enjoy this position. So thank you for your time. Anything else you want to say to anybody while I got you on film?
Just vote, just whether it's for me or anyone else. If you only find one person or one issue on the ballot, I think it's just it's a sign of a healthy democracy when everyone votes. So just make sure you're registered, and if you're not, you got a few more weeks to get registered. Not long, and then just vote. You can vote early, vote on election day. I like to vote on election day, but just have a plan, and hopefully you vote.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for serving.
Yeah, thank you, Beth. I appreciate it.
Hope to meet you sometime in person.
Yeah.
All right. You have a great evening. Bye-bye.